Hey guys, it's the Real Aquarian here. I'm doing the monthly read for Libra. So, let's just go ahead and dive right in. How are Libra doing today? Well, I hope. If not, I hope things vastly improve with haste. I truly do. And if things are going good, good on you. I think that's great. Keep it up. All right, Libra. Let's see what we got this month for you. Okay. Guess I can put it here. Yeah. A little hard to get in there. Okay. Libra for the month. I have to make sure I can see. Okay. Libra. Libra. Okay. I would say that on a very basic general level, first of all, this is not aspected so terrible. You actually have a good month, but proceed with caution. That's what I would say straight out of the gate. But what I'm seeing here is maybe not completely defined, but I definitely see your eyes fixated on, at its core, what you kind of want out of life. Like I said, not necessarily defined completely. You may not have a firm grasp on it, but it's almost as if your inner self already knows what it wants on some basic level. It kind of has a better understanding of the kinds of things that you not only need, but the kinds of things you kind of want to kind of set yourself up with. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing to have your eyes on the prize. We have the Empress here. So that's the one for, abundance and, beauty. And what I would say here is this is also an indicator that maybe you should go outside a little bit. Go outside, whether that's, sounds weird to say, touch a tree, put your feet in the dirt, connect with nature is what you get with the Empress. This need to kind of reconnect, ground yourself a bit, to kind of raise your vibrations a little. This is ultimately that kind of aspiration that we all kind of go through of wanting that kind of inner happiness, that inner kind of, fulfillment, abundance in all things, love, compassion, support, sharing, generosity. The Empress is one of those, you want to have all good things and you want to be a good person to boot. You know what I mean? Like, you want to have that wonderful kind of harmony of all things, including yourself, just sort of sharing in this kind of just inward and outward kind of joy. So that's a wonderful thing to kind of keep your eyes fixated on. But I see a few problems here, Libra. We have the King of Wands in reverse. So immediately what I see is you're kind of setting yourself up a little bit, not only for failure, but the feeling for failure. So with the King of Wands in reverse, we have too high expectations being kind of drawn out, whether that's for you or for someone else. But there's this, you know what you want, so you want to go after it. The problem is, if your expectations are really kind of straddling that line between, attainable and unrealistic, you're going to find that you will be met with failure on occasion, because you'll find that some of those expectations are, like I said, too high. They will kind of venture onto the side of unrealistic. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't dream big. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have, good expectations, good standards for yourself. It just means that perhaps instead of, kind of expecting too much too soon or too high up so quickly, perhaps just kind of create a space where, your expectations remain flexible, that you're able to kind of better take the small victories as they come, because then you're experiencing success rather than failure. You, aspire to have great things, aspire to do great things, have, you know, big goals, big dreams. These are all good things, but if your expectation is too highly placed upon them, you won't be able to attain them, or they'll take longer than you thought. And this creates feelings of frustration. This creates feelings of, you know, stagnation. You feel like you're stuck because you're not getting what you want now. And I would say here, just kind of be careful with this kind of energy that kind of comes in this month, because yes, eyes on the prize, but like I said, if it's not happening as quick as you want, perhaps readjust your expectations so that you could, you know, find joy in the smaller victories, because ultimately, bigger picture, they're building you towards those larger successes. But if you raise your expectations, if you have them too high on the things that you want this month, Libra, you're going to find that not only is it a source of frustration for you, a source of feeling like a failure, which is not a good emotion to feel, on top of all of that, it will, ultimately, it can, I should say, because that depends on what you do, but it can it can alter your judgment. So this is one of those where that feeling of frustration, the expectations being too high, can actually have an impact on the decisions you make. And you have to be very careful of this, because we have the Two of Swords right next to it. So I'm automatically seeing indecisiveness. We have a situation where there's a kind of avoidance of whatever this situation is, whatever the month dictates. There's a, like I said, stagnation. There's a lack of progress. So with this stalemate, I don't know what the situation is, but it's a difficult kind of situation. This is one of those situations where it's either, you know, it never really seems like someone comes out the victor kind of situations. I'm getting the representation of some sort of conflict, but it's one of those conflicts where it's either going to end in a flat out compromise or a straight up truce, like a straight up agree to disagree kind of, you know, shake hands and move on kind of decision here. But ultimately, you have to decide. This is about getting your little, you know, pad and paper out, and you know, pen and paper, I meant to say, and really writing down the pros and cons to whatever decision you're kind of faced with, whatever situation this is. You need to think on it, you know, being, again, be wary rather of the impulsive need to decide. You need to contemplate. This is about thinking and assessing the information you have and making an informed, clear kind of decision for your way forward. But what I'm seeing right next to it, right down here, we have the Nine of Swords, which is posing a problem. This is bugging me here. So this kind of stalemate, this kind of feeling of failure, these too high expectations you're placing on yourself, Libra, are really, these two are really starting to seep into other aspects of life. And that's why it's bothering me, because this is about depression. This is about, you know, shit's fucking with your dreams. This is, this situation is weighing heavily on you. That's what I'm getting. There's a real weight to what's happening here. So much so that it's actually kind of messing with your flow, you know, messing with your general wavelength, your vibes. This is intense kind of raw, not positive emotions, you know. This is high anxiety, high despair, high questioning, high doubt, high, you know, anything that has to do with fear. You know, which, again, I can understand this, especially if you're facing a difficult decision, whatever this situation is. There's a little fear behind it. That's why it's an important decision. That's why you need to take the time to really think about it. But with that, I'd add a disclaimer. This is about not letting things fester too long either. So the warning you have here is, again, get a little more flexible with your expectations so that you can meet with more successes than failures. But here with the Two of Swords, you have to not avoid it forever. To avoid this stalemate, to avoid this problem, it's like the opposite of wine. You know how they say wine gets better with age? This problem's going to get worse with age. So you don't want it to sit and fester for too long, because it really does seep in and start affecting other aspects of your life, which is not good, because like I said, Libra, you really have your eyes on the prize here. This month, at least at your core, your inner self knows the kinds of things, or is better acquainted, or is starting to wake up to the things that it not only needs, but it wants. And now it's up to you to kind of decide how you're going to go about getting them. What I'm seeing here for you for the month is it's good to have the eyes on the prize. It's good to dream big, you know, try to attain much. That is all good things. But don't kind of, you know, don't, you know, F yourself over in the process. And that's what I'm seeing here. So we have the World. So once again, we have that iteration, that further reiteration of, you know, eyes on the prize and the things that you want. If you can get past this issue of adaptability when it comes to expectations, if you can just get a little more flexible with your expectations, it will decrease your level of frustration, your level of, I won't go as far as to say self-loathing, but there's a negative self-image that we get with these two cards, King of Wands reverse and Nine of Swords. And we can't have that, Libra. So with the World, if you can get through these, you know, this negative self-image, if you can work past and get more flexible to your expectations, face whatever this stalemate is, you can ultimately alleviate this negative energy that's kind of seeping out into other aspects of your life, which is never a good thing. And I would add to that is, you know, just be careful of the energies you put out. And I don't say that in terms of like karma, even though karma is very real. I say that in terms of, if you have low vibrations, if you have negative thought processes, poor self-image, if you have this, you know, feeling like a failure, if you have these kinds of, you know, blocked emotions, that's what this is about also, is not getting to share your peace. Oftentimes with the stalemate, it's two sides just sort of unwilling to hear the other side, which is why I say it ultimately, with the Two of Swords, comes down to either a straight up compromise or just, you know, full-on truce, agree to disagree, moving on kind of situation. It's not really like a super happy victory at the end of that. It's more, there needs to be a facing and a moving on from it. You will ultimately have to decide. I'm not dismissing this decision that you have to make. I'm simply saying, take the time to, you know, do your pros and cons. Take the time to think about it, but don't take too long, because this is affecting you for the whole month. So just be careful of that. But you get through this, you face this, you get flexible with your expectations, your self-image improves, and ultimately you find achievement, you find success. You seek and ye shall find. You will find yourself elevated that much more. It's about closure. It's about kind of feeling a sense of accomplishment. There's a sense of fulfillment that is gained somewhere in this month, Libra, and I'm seeing that it's a result of certain sort of aspect, you know, adjustments. Get flexible with your expectations. Seek the smaller victories, because, you know, then you are met with more successes than you are failures. Like I said, keep reaching big, keep reaching high, but don't expect it to happen right now. You know what I mean? Like, don't expect it to be overnight. You know, it takes time, and that understandably can be frustrating, but ultimately that is what it is. You know what I mean? What is that saying? A watched pot never boils, or something like that. You know, you have to be flexible and have to seek the victories where they are. You know, appreciate the victories along the process. You got to enjoy the walk in your little life's journey that we have going on this month. Okay. So ultimately you get to a place of achievement, a place of, you know, feeling fulfilled, a sense of accomplishment. Like I said, seek and ye shall find. So long as you address these kinds of self-image, stalemate, whatever conflict this is, address these things, it will stop affecting you internally and also externally, because like I said, these energies that you put out ultimately will stay in your orbit and can come back. So I'm not saying that on the level of karma. I'm saying that just on the level of, you know, the basic, what you put out just kind of sticks with you. It'll kind of loom in your orbit. It's out there now, you know? So you have to be very careful on how far you let this kind of despair, this kind of disappointment, this kind of anger, this kind of anxiety, this kind of sadness, whatever the situation is, how long you let that kind of sit. Okay? You don't want that to sit for very long because it will affect you long term. Keep that in mind. So you want to get to that sense of achievement. And then we have the Page of Wands to kind of cap it off. So I really love that ultimately you end up with the Page of Wands, because you're in this situation where, having kept your eyes on the prize, having worked through the kind of minor complications of this month, and again, I don't dismiss the conflict here, but I just mean, you know, you gotta work on that kind of self-image, face whatever this is that you're kind of avoiding. But ultimately, you keep your eyes on the prize, and you end up with not only a sense of accomplishment, not only a sense of kind of getting, a semblance of like victory, fulfillment, wholeness. With the Page of Wands, it's this wonderful kind of, there's a renewed sense of enthusiasm, a renewed sense sort of a zest for life, a passion for life that reignites as a result of having actually attained some of the things that you had wanted to, that you had set out to this month. But like I said, you know, stay strong, fight the good fight, because ultimately, if you're flexible with your expectations, if you face whatever it is that is kind of a point of avoidance, you alleviate the kind of negative emotions that kind of swirl around. You get to achieve, whether that's large or small, you get to enjoy the feeling of success on some level. And then as a result, there's more of like a free-spirited, a kind of, you're kind of not only chill, but you're also just sort of like down for whatever at that point. Like just, the world is good, the world is great. There's this happy kind of feeling, this happy energy that comes as a result. So, eyes on the prize. Keep that going. Just get a little more flexible. Face what you need to. That is the monthly reading for Libra. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you free spirits next time. And, yeah, Auf Wiedersehen.